What do I think about the current, we talk about the traditional education, right? Traditional education. We need to humanize it. It's not about really all the stuff that they try to put in people's head, but it's about humanizing it, right? So it needs to start from the heart. It needs to start from the heart. It needs to start from the educator, not just seeing the students as students, but seeing them as full human beings. So for me, for example, when I start a course, when I start anything, I always start by trying to get to know who are you as the human being. What are your fears? What are your aspirations? Your family? Like, I do the opposite that what they tell you to do, because normally they tell you to do, don't get too close to your students, right? Don't be friends with them. And if I wasn't, I wouldn't be here, right? I wouldn't be here. So the importance of making education human and not making about the performance, right? If you're empowering your student to think creatively, to explore, to be themselves, then you also create the potential of changing the status quo. It's hard to rethink education in a systemic thinking. It's hard to rethink education without rethinking the society. Because when you live in a world where everything is about material, is about performance, a very 90s masculine type of world, right? It's about how strong I am, how big is this compared to you, and whatever, whatever. It's hard to have an education that is going to be different. So both things, and that's the political connection of education, is to rethink education. If we want an education that is more like this, like human, we need a society that is more human. That means that when we train you, we need, okay, good for you, you want to accomplish this, but you have the responsibility to contribute, right? And you have the responsibility to make changes, right? We need to go from a more male-dominated, masculine, strong, power society leadership to a more woman, feminine leadership, because I truly believe that many of the issues that we have in the world, we wouldn't have them if women were in power. Definitely not.
Given where you are coming from and where you are now, how did you manage to change the narrative? Or even when you come up to people, it could be that people may not have known where you came from, but then people that knew where you are coming from, even your teachers at some point, like coming up to you saying, okay, you are this, you are that. How have you managed to balance the narrative from there and then now?
Learning from your mistakes, which are not mistakes. There's no really good and I don't believe in mistakes in life, right? It's being open to what life brings you, where life takes you, being open, right? And just trying. Just sometimes I'm amazed because certain things is just about trying, just taking a step, a leap. And I kind of try to train myself in a way to deal with change, because naturally we're struggling when something changes around us, when our environment changes, we're struggling. But it's okay. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay. Change is okay. It's okay that I'm uncomfortable in this situation, that I don't know this, that my life is going upside down. It opens to something. It's opening to something. It's opening to an opportunity. It's opening to self-growth. But to answer your question, I think it's not me. I think I'm just like a vehicle and carrying a message But I mean, I explained how I got here right now in front of you, and I cannot say it's me. Like it's creator life.
Do you have like a life strategy or slogan that you repeat to yourself in the hard days? And the second question is, what is your definition of success?
For me, it's important to rebel. It's important to be a rebel. It's important to challenge the status quo. It's important for me when everyone is going that direction, okay, let's go that direction. This is something that I try to never conform. Be you. Just be you. Unapologetically be you. You know, we talk about love, and love is a radical act, right? But I believe that self-love, not selfishness, but self-love has to be radical. And I will explain myself. Let's say, how many of you are in situations sometimes where you've been in, let's say, a relationship or work, and somehow you end up accepting suffering, accepting being treated wrong or not to the way where you're supposed to be treated, accepted some toxicity, whether it's your work, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's whatever. And I believe when I talk about self-love is that the moment you are in any type of relationship, whether it's the job you have, the boss, anything, when it's becoming toxic, you should always be in a position where I love myself and I'm not going to tolerate this, and this is the end. You should always draw the line. But most of us, a lot of time, and many of my experience has been like that, we don't draw the line. We accept that, or we let it go through sometimes very extreme situations. And yeah, I would say, if I would say one thing is, the importance of self-love and radical love. Radical. My definition of success, I think you only know if you've been successful in life the day you pass away, like on your funeral. That's when you say, I've been successful. How many lives have you touched? How many lives have you really touched? And the beauty of this is that it does not depend on your wallet, how rich you are, or wealthy you are, but how many lives have you touched? And I think that success for me is, yes, on the last day, knowing that I've done everything that I was meant to do, and that at my funeral there are people that would come and say, yeah, he did, he really impacted us, he really touched us, he really had a positive impact on us. It's interesting because, as I said, I don't like boxes, right? So I think back in the day you could talk about, okay, innovation, and you could talk about education, pedagogy and everything, but the more I go in life, the more I realize that the boxes don't really exist. So for example, when you talk about innovation, there's no innovation without learning, right? Learning, constantly having the right way of being, right? So they used to talk about personal development, which I don't like the word development because we are human beings, so we are developed already, but to me it's more like personal growth, and then, soft skills and hard no. And I realized that, for example, education is at the core of it, right? So if you really start thinking systemically about education and about how can we rethink it and have an impact, then you start seeing like, okay, entrepreneurship, there's a connection, because if you would apply the entrepreneurial mind to education, then you can have something, creativity, etc., etc. So what I would say to really answer, if I want to rebox it, I would say yes, I do 21st century leadership. We worked with innovative methods where we see, design. I use some design thinking. I use some, problem analysis, etc., etc. Things that you're familiar with. But we also work first and foremost on the being, because in this world right now, all of you are in the global market and you are competing against someone somewhere in the world. And what do you think is the difference? What makes the difference between you and someone in anywhere in the world? What is the difference? Anyone? The difference is you. You, that's it. It's you. So it's not what you do, it's not what you know, it is you. I'd rather have someone with a great self-awareness, right? And a mindset where you're going to be creative or try it, than someone that has a lot of knowledge, that I've studied a lot, but is not aware, is not grounded. It's you. So basically I would say, through the tools of innovation, design, leadership, business model, I work on the be, how to be. Because I see human beings, I don't see students.
Pour moi, c'est plus en grandit, tu sors de l'adolescence et tu vas vers être adulte. C'est plus quel genre, est-ce que je suis en train de suivre le bon chemin? Est-ce que je fais ce que je dois faire comme ça je dois le faire? C'est la peur un peu d'être adulte.
Toi, t'es la bonne élève. Non mais c'est bien, celle qui fait les choses bien et qui veut vraiment perfectionniste.
Oui.
Très perfectionniste. Et bien en fait, tu sais quoi? Il n'y a pas de bon chemin, il n'y a pas de mauvais chemin. Une fois que vous comprenez qu'il n'y a pas de bon chemin et qu'il n'y a pas de mauvais chemin et qu'il y a juste la vie et il y a juste savoir qui tu es et savoir ce que tu veux et ne pas accepter des choses qui vont contre ton amour à toi, tu vois, contre tes principes et t'y tenir et ne pas te compromettre. Ne pas chercher un travail parce que c'est un travail qui nous paye, non. Prenez le temps, ne pas et n'écoutez pas. Quand vous avez des rêves, quand vous avez des perspectives, quand vous voulez vraiment innover, ou faire du changement, la majorité des gens autour de vous ne comprennent pas. Une innovation, une vraie innovation, c'est jamais populaire. Si toi dans ta famille tu dis je veux faire ça et que personne l'a fait, ou tes amis, même les gens qui t'aiment des fois, l'être humain il ne comprend pas, on n'a pas la capacité d'imaginer quelque chose qu'on n'a pas vécu. Tu vois, donc je vous donne un exemple, par exemple, être parent. On peut vous dire, si je parle avec quelqu'un qui n'a jamais eu d'enfant, et on peut imaginer oui, moi je veux pas être parent, ça me fait peur, etc., etc. Mais on ne peut pas imaginer tenir son enfant la première fois dans ses bras, le premier sourire. Ça, on ne peut pas l'imaginer parce qu'on ne l'a pas vécu. Ben, c'est pareil. Les gens ne peuvent pas imaginer quand tu as quelque chose de nouveau. On peut pas ne cherche pas. Il n'y a rien dans la vie de plus ennuyeux et de plus dangereux que la perfection. Ce qui est beau, c'est les imperfections, ce qui font la beauté d'une personne, de l'amour, de tomber amoureux. Parce que sur les réseaux, on vous vend le monde où on vit aujourd'hui, c'est la perfection du corps, la perfection du visage, la perfection de la carrière, la perfection. Mais c'est ennuyeux, c'est emmerdant. Il n'y a rien de plus beau que les imperfections. Et assumer, ne cherchez pas à être parfait. Je parlais avec un chef d'orchestre récemment, et aujourd'hui on a de l'intelligence artificielle qui est parfaitement capable de créer des partitions, des musiques, des poèmes, etc. Mais qu'est-ce qui fait que l'intelligence artificielle ne pourra jamais faire ce qu'un être humain peut faire? C'est qu'une partition de musique de n'importe quel artiste ou un tableau, il n'est jamais parfait. Et un ordinateur, il va chercher, il va calculer et il va donner la perfection. Mais c'est ennuyeux. À mon avis, c'est ça. Ne cherchez pas. Être humain, c'est être. Alors on peut être dans la recherche de d'atteindre le sommet, mais ne cherchez pas à forcément tout faire parfaitement, parce que vous allez rater des choses. Parce que la beauté justement, c'est pas d'arriver ici. C'est pas, pour moi, la beauté, c'est pas d'être devant vous là maintenant. Aussi, c'est beau, mais quand on regarde en arrière, si c'était juste mon objectif, je veux aller parler là, très bien. Mais c'est le parcours qui est intéressant. Et c'est vos parcours, donc il n'y a pas de beau chemin, il y a juste un chemin sur lequel il faut que vous y alliez avec votre cœur. Voilà, avec votre cœur, suivez votre cœur, suivez vos principes, suivez votre intégrité, n'acceptez pas des choses qui vont contre votre amour, mais il y a juste le chemin de la vie. The competition is within you. You must strive to be the best version of yourself, but not necessarily compare. And I know the system sometimes makes you compare and makes you, but to me, sometimes it can be toxic. But I think what really matters is today I gave my best. When I finish my exam, my work, whatever, I know that I gave everything that I had. And if you do that, you can be satisfied. Failure doesn't exist. It's just it's your imagination. It doesn't exist. In life, failures doesn't exist. They are just like you fear, but you're just imagining. And studies and research say that out of 10 things that you imagine are going to be a problem, whatever, there's only one that may happen. So most of the time, it doesn't really happen. And worst case, you fail. Okay, you see that life goes on. Like it's not. Life goes on. Life is life. So don't stress yourself. Don't hurt yourself because you're hurting. And being in that situation where you want to all the time you worry about this, it's exhausting. In your head, in your heart, emotionally, it's exhausting. So it's like enjoy the process. And I know a lot of us can come from families where they are push. But in the end, you can get there and enjoy the process. It doesn't have to be either or. Because failure, I repeat, failure doesn't exist. The ability that the human being has to heal, to recover, to stand up, it's just incredible. Failure does not exist, it's just imagination, it's just a perspective. And even in the most extreme cases, you can still see some miracle happening. I gave the example at the beginning. It's very extreme, but still you have miracles. So by something happening to you, there can still be something along the line that you're going to see. So it's the way we perceive an event that maybe we're going to call it failure, or maybe we're going to say we've learned from it. And that's the only thing. The only true failure is when you don't learn from an experience. That's it. Vous voyez en fait une des choses qui est importante, quel que soit le chemin que vous choisissez, il faut toujours que vous aligniez vos carrières, vos chemins avec qui vous êtes. Pour moi, et je sais que quand on implique les personnes, du coup, là, cette expérience, c'est plus juste moi, on l'a construit ensemble. On construit quelque chose ensemble. Et vous voyez, il se passe quelque chose. En général, il y aurait beaucoup de personnes sur leur téléphone. Voilà, il se passe quelque chose parce que on construit ça ensemble. Et ça, c'est, je ne peux pas dire que je l'ai appris, mais c'est juste mon expérience en tant que rebelle, que élève. Voilà, c'est de, ok, moi j'aime ça, et je vous offre ce que moi je voudrais recevoir. Vous êtes vraiment formidable. N'oubliez pas le potentiel et la beauté que vous avez à l'intérieur, qui vous êtes. Assumez-le, protégez-le. N'oubliez jamais ça. Continuez à aller sur votre route. Soyez rebelle. Rebellez-vous comme disait un livre, rebellez-vous. Et je vous remercie vraiment du fond du cœur. J'espère que ça va se voir.